Last thing, let's talk about your page, Go Valley, and you basically exposing technique and you know things you do within your sport wrestling community. How did that come about?
Um, oh, my page, my YouTube, or the
Yeah, both the Instagram and YouTube.
yeah. So I was the so really my timeline as my timeline as a wrestler and a wrestling coach really doesn't go back that far. Like 2000, we're talking about 2005. So 15 years. That's not very. And I'm 44. Like that's not. Number one, I started late. um, and 15 years is nothing. Like 15 years is, a 20-year-old has 15 years under their belt sometimes. And so
Right.
I always find myself, I had always found myself, at least in the beginning, like way behind the curve, and I needed to catch up. And as far as wrestling mindset and technique, almost everything. And so, for a while Kolat was, I was sort of under Kolat for a few years, and I took over his club, and then I was running Maryland USA Wrestling for 6 years. And then after that stint, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I have no name. I have like not. I don't have an organization to stand behind anymore. And because I was always sort of the face of an organization, not the face, but like a leader in a pretty big organization, an impactful organization. And so after Maryland USA Wrestling, I'm like, I need to brand myself. And this was 2018. And so I started Joe Wrestling. J-O is my Korean last name. And so I'm like, what do I call this thing? La Valley Wrestling? No. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be Joe Wrestling. And it's going to pull out the roots of my background, my Korean background. And Joe in Korean, well, the Chinese character Joe means dynasty, and in Korean, in Hangul, Joe means the man. So I'm like, that's sort of like the meaning. I'm gonna go with it. So it just kind of went, and I created the website first, and I didn't really think anything of it. At first it was just a place to put my training, where people could go and know where I was, because every when I was with the other organizations, everything was on their website, and they knew where I was. They knew where I was coaching. They knew who I was training. So this was a way for me to, number one, start branding. Two, a way for people to find out where I am, because I really didn't have a home. And so I was at American University in DC. I was at Nova Wrestling Club in Virginia, and I was also at Mount St. Joe in Maryland. So it became like this DC, Maryland, Virginia thing that I tried to like really start pulling all my ties together. And I didn't start the Instagram until last year, because the kids just kept telling me to do it. And I started it, and like I never shot at that point in time. I had never shot technique clips. And I was surprised, because like I at that point I knew a lot. I felt like I knew a lot that I could share with people, and I was doing it in a wrestling room, but I never really thought to actually film it. And so then the filming began. Cliff Keen reached out to me. They saw my Instagram, and I think I only had a couple videos. Like I wasn't real active, but there was one video. It got like 20,000 views, and then Cliff Keen contacted me. I have a friend at Cliff Keen, and I'd worked with for 6 years with Maryland USA Wrestling, and he reached out to me and was like, "You want to do our Cliff Keen stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to." And so the technique that I was doing they were just 10-second clips of me doing technique in a wrestling room during a practice. It wasn't anything formal. And the Cliff Keen stuff just made me like, okay, I'm going to make this super professional. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna stage it. I'm gonna do all this stuff. And funny, I guess it's not funny because Cary jokes about it. Cary said, "You might as well just stick my face on you," because I was filming all of Cary's technique. If you know Kolat.com,
Yeah, yeah.
he was the first technique. He was the first online technique ever. There was nobody else. Like other people had done technique through video and DVD and YouTube, but nobody had like created a website and a library, especially 1,000. Like when we first started, he had 1,000 clips, and that thing's probably over 5,000 clips.
Wow.
And I was, believe it or not, I was the one filming the clips while he was throwing Obi Blanc around.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. so you could probably see it in my videos. Like I probably do a lot of the same things that Cary does, and he does joke
Yeah,
about
I've
that.
noticed it. A lot of similarities.
He's like, you might as well just throw my face on there. And it's true. I mean, I give him a lot of credit. He's inspired me, and like I always wanted to wrestle like him, even in high school. So, but Joe Wrestling, started with a website, went to the Instagram. Like I wasn't even active on Facebook that much. Like all the social media, just at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to just take it to another level. And since then, I've just been, it's been growing and growing. And Instagram's been crazy because people around the world are on that app, and they reach out to me. They ask me for technique advice. They ask me to train them. It's been crazy. And I've got this map. I don't know if you can see it behind me. I got this map, and it's an interesting map because it's like a lottery scratch ticket. Like you can scratch off.
Mhm.
If I can bring this in. Like you can scratch off the names of the countries.
Oh, that's cool.
So I got this map like a long time ago. I'm like, obviously it's meant for when you visit somewhere, you scratch it off. But I'm like, I'm not gonna go to all these freaking countries in the world. So I'm like, I'm like, I didn't know what to do with it, and so finally one day I'm like, I'm gonna start scratching off every single country that I make contact with for wrestling, and I create like a client customer base, somebody I've helped in that. So I counted up recently. It was something crazy, like 20 different countries with somebody's, asked me for wrestling advice, and
Wow.
I've out and given them some technique pointers or analyze their videos or help them train. And so that thing is like, I mean, I don't have any like specific goals with that, but that's just through Instagram, how quickly it blew up. And I'm sure, I don't have that many followers. I have about 7,000. I guess that's okay, but there's these other pages. I don't know how they deal with the amount of volume of people that reach out to them, because it's just constant people reaching out to me all the time. So that's pretty cool. Like I'm super grateful and thankful for having the opportunity to do those things. And it's always been, I guess the technique really wasn't my idea. Other people pushed me to do it. And then obviously Cliff Keen, I'm sure helped, lead that charge, having their name on things and being a partner with them is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely enjoy watching them. I learned some things here and there, but they're very interesting, especially when you throw people. Uh, you back arch them. That's pretty cool to see. I'm like, wow, you could do that, and it's just crazy to
Well,
see.
and that's the other thing. It keeps me honest. Like I gotta, number one, I have to be in shape. I have to be able to execute the moves. This dummy thing is crazy. Like it's so hard to like show a technique on. I feel like I'm so clumsy and so it's forcing me to like actually have to like relearn how I do things again. Like with a person, they at least will move, you know, and they can sort of make you look good. But you know, the dummy it's just sitting there. So you got to work with what you got. So it's forced me to, you know, obviously I got to still stay in shape and you know still stay on point with my wrestling IQ.
Well,
But
thanks for
fun.
yeah. Well, thanks for your time. It's a pleasure for you, to be on this episode, and I'm excited to share it.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, Andy. Thanks for all you do for wrestling, and um, I hope you know you could come down here sometime and come train with us, and I can get up there and work with you guys. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be cool to meet and train and share ideas. Definitely.
We'll put you through the ringer.
Yeah.